I think I was wrong about Halo Infinite's open world. Now, not necessarily that I was wrong in terms of the way that it does what it does, or that I was wrong and it's the greatest open world I've ever played. I don't really think it is at all. However, where I was wrong was in the way that the open world interacts with the story and the way that it intertwines itself with the core focus of Halo Infinite as an overall experience. I was worried going into this, and I still think rightly so, that the open world was going to be front and center, that it was going to be the focus of the game, that most of the content would be surrounded around doing camps in the open world, fighting the Banished, saving Marines, and not a whole lot else, with main missions being pretty few and far between these larger open world segments. But that's not really what they've done here at all. This game reminds me far more of a Batman Arkham title, something like an Arkham City, an Arkham Origins, an Arkham Knight, maybe more so, in the way that it's structured, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. Is it my ideal Halo structuring? Not really. If I were to make a game myself, I probably would do it like the classic Halos, linear missions, but that's not to say the open world in this is to the game's detriment. In a lot of ways, it bolsters the experience they're trying to sell here, while it does detract from some things that I do like to see in Halo games usually. But that said, the overall experience they're trying to make with Halo Infinite, I don't think is ruined by the open world being an inclusion. So I wanted to make this video to go over a few of the ways that I actually really enjoy it, a few of the things that I think it detracts from, and go over my general thoughts on the open world of Halo Infinite. Obviously, this video is made during the Advent calendar, so it's going to be a little bit more casual, not as heavy on the editing or on the scripting of this video, but I thought it was worth making nonetheless to talk about. I do want to make a bigger Halo Infinite video in the new year, hopefully around January, but I'm going to have to replay the game first, get all the footage, write out a script, and it'll have to be after the Advent calendar is complete. So end of December, I'll probably get to work on that and hopefully have it out sometime in January, and we'll have a proper in-depth discussion about everything the game does, from its open world to its core gameplay, the setting, the visuals, the story itself and how it sets up the future, the live service, the multiplayer, everything in one big Halo Infinite video that I do want to do towards the start of 2022. However, let's get into this video. Alright, so to talk about some of the things I like about this open world, for a start, it's not the focus of the game. Like I talked about before, it's really not what the game is pushing on you the entire time that you're playing. I feel that that's quite a benefit of the game. It allows you to just go from A to B through the main story if that's what you choose to do. It's never saying, right, you better go off and do this random bandit camp, or you better go off and explore this cave. It's like, the open world exists, and yeah, you can go around it, and maybe you'll find some stuff, but we're also just trying to tell a story within this space too, and so the story is really the core focus, and I think that's very much to the benefit of a Halo game, even when you're going to do an open world structure like you have done in Infinite. When you do explore it, it's not too big either, which is something I really like. That's something I love about the Arkham games as well. They don't try and do the biggest open world, they just try and fill it with things that are meaningful, and I think Halo Infinite does that quite nicely as well. There's quite a sense of progression as you take over these different forward operating bases and banished outposts so that you can get more weapons and you can get more vehicles to better explore and take down the banished on the Halo ring, and I think it's a very nice system. It feels like early on they set up the stakes, they set up that you want to build back up the UNSC, and you want to do that as well as the player, and I think that it works really nicely as you're going through this world and you're doing these different things. You feel like a sense of progression is happening, not just in the things that you're getting as rewards, but in the fact that you are building back up the UNSC, even if it's a little bit superficial, I guess. Forward operating bases are quick, it really doesn't waste your time. You go to one, you do something, maybe there's some special brute enemies, maybe there's some invisible elites, maybe you just got a bunch of grunts with heavy weapons. It differs from place to place. You take them out, you do some bits and bobs, the forward operating base is yours, and you've got like another place you can fast travel to, a bit of valor. It's a quick and easy thing to do that is quite satisfying, just because the core gameplay is so much fun that it makes doing these smaller things in the world really enjoyable. The larger outposts themselves are usually unique locations There were a couple I came across. There's obviously the refineries that you can take out, which is going to hurt the Banished quite a bit. There was another one I found where the Banished were excavating a Forerunner site, and so they were trying to find, you know, old relics and artifacts from the Forerunner period, and you had to, you know, take out the base to stop them from uncovering any important secrets that could advance their tech or whatever, and help them in the war against the UNSC. So that was really nice, and there's always little dialogue here and there between the weapon and Master Chief to sort of contextualize what you're doing, and it's a nice little bit of character moments here and there, some banter. It works, and it works to sort of ground you in what you're doing, even if on the surface it could seem something kind of mundane. Obviously, it's got incredible ambience, the music is really good. Just wandering around the Halo ring, you get this sense of, yeah, this is Halo, you know what I mean? It works, and I really like that vibe. When you first come out onto the Halo ring, it's a really nice feeling, and as you just wander through the environment, you get this sense that you're playing a Halo game, and I think it's got a very unique and interesting vibe, and it really does work. They've done a good job with placing the music, and the day-night cycle just adds to the overall ambience of the world. And in terms of things that you can collect, I love going around and finding these different data pads, whether it's from the Banished, some Spartans, the UNSC, or the little Forerunner messages you can find as well, which are incredibly interesting. It just adds to pad out the general state of the world in this Halo era, and I think it's quite nice the way that it uses extended media stuff. I know there's going to be a novel coming out in 2022 that dives into the story of some of the Spartans we hear messages from on the Halo ring, which is going to be quite interesting, as well as learning what happened with like Lasky and the UNSC Infinity. There's a lot of little bits there that sort of give you information to the wider Halo universe without making it the core focus of this game. This game is very much focused on the Chief, the weapon, the Banished, whereas there are these little elements though that you can find that do delve into the extended universe stuff, and I really like that as someone that over the past year has delved into a ton of the Halo novels, read a few of the comics. Like, I've really gone balls deep into Halo this year, so it's been really nice to then have these little tidbits here and there through these data pads that give you a little bit more juice, you know what I mean? Juice? They give you a bit of it. It's nice. Now, it's not the perfect open world, like I said. There are obviously a few good things that I really do like, but there are a few things that, you know, hold it back, some issues that I do take. But then I thought I'd mention those here too. Things like, they can get slightly repetitive if it's all you're doing. If you're not dividing up your open world exploration by doing main story missions, things can get a little bit tedious. The different larger outposts are always quite fun, I feel, but there are things like saving Marines or doing them propaganda towers that are like just very mundane, normal tasks. So if you're not doing main story missions between, or you've finished the campaign, it can feel a little bit boring and repetitive at points, because you are doing a lot of the same things over and over again. And I'm not sure I could imagine just sitting around only doing open world stuff for more than 2 hours, because I feel that it would just get incredibly repetitive and boring. That said, there's not so much to do that you're going to be spending that much time in the open world after you finish the campaign. Mopping stuff up is not going to be a huge task after the fact. However, it can feel a little bit pointless when you finish the campaign, although that's maybe a me thing more than anything else. I find in a lot of games, the only times I really feel like after I finish the main story, I can go and do side stuff and it doesn't feel entirely pointless is something like a Skyrim or Fallout, because of the way those games are made. But in something like Halo, for example, or Batman Arkham, which is very similar to this game's structure, when you finish the main story, yes, you can still go off into the open world and you can finish side stuff, but it feels a little bit pointless once you've actually finished the main story, and that's the way that it's always felt to me when doing these things. So I don't know if that's necessarily an important critique, but that's the way that it made me feel after I finished the main story. Going around doing side stuff, yeah, it's fun, and I do like playing the game, but it feels like it's not really to any sort of end, which kind of takes me out of it when you've lost that context. Now, the open world works well, and the Halo ring is incredibly nice to look at and explore, but I do feel the open world and the way that it's structured detracts from the variety of locales you can see in a Halo game. Look at something like Halo 2, for example, which to me is the pinnacle of what Halo should strive to achieve in terms of its diversity of regions. You have so many different places that you explore in Halo 2. You've got the slums, you've got the metropolis area of a city, you've got jungles, you've got beaches, you've got the tropics, you've got Covenant ships, you've got Forerunner ruins, different kinds of Forerunner ruins, you've got UNSC bases. There is so much in Halo 2, and to me that's what Halo should strive to do, whereas in Infinite you've really got 2, maybe 3 different sort of spaces that you're going to be traversing. It's either going to be woodland, a banished base, or a Forerunner structure. And that's pretty much it. Yes, it's a bit vague to say a woodland, because sometimes there is a rocky terrain, sometimes it's grassland, sometimes it's a bit more muddy, sometimes there's some knockdown trees, but it's kind of the same area, you know what I mean? It's not like a Halo 2 or even a Halo 3 where you've got your snowy places, you've got your mountain peaks, you've got your deserts, you got your old Forerunner structures, you got your Covenant ships. There's a lot more going on in those older Halo games, and obviously that comes from the fact that it's not an open world, it's linear missions, so every mission can be different, whereas in Halo Infinite, the missions and the things that you do all take place within this very specific region of a single Halo ring. What I think could really work to help is if you have this open space and that works as your hub area, and maybe it could even have 3 different biomes. Imagine if one of them was grassland, another one was a desert biome, another one was a snowy biome, and within those you had sub-biomes and they cross over into each other gradually as you progress through the open space. But then when you go and you do these main missions, you hop in a Pelican, it takes you to a completely different part of the Halo ring, you do a mission there, it's in a very unique environment, a very nice linear set piece, and then it takes you straight back into the open world. You can have both things, but they don't conflict with each other, and it makes it a lot more interesting to explore. And I feel like that's probably my biggest issue, honestly, with Halo Infinite as a whole, is just the fact that the open world does detract from the fact that Halo used to be a game that showcased a ton of different environments level to level, whereas Infinite doesn't really do that. The game works in of itself, and it's not necessarily a bad thing for a video game to have similar locations in the open space that you're trying to do. I mean, look at something like Grand Theft Auto, it's not like it has a ton of different biomes, it's a city and then maybe a countryside, and it works for a game like that, so it's not necessarily a bad thing in of itself. But for a Halo game, I do feel one of the core strengths of Halo always was the variety of world space, and Infinite doesn't really have that. And because of this, main missions can feel somewhat lacking because they're all going through very similar areas. Don't get me wrong, I really liked a lot of the main missions, and I think the story held it up so much higher, but I do wish we saw a lot more variety in locations, and I'm sure they're going to add more stuff down the line as this is a live service. They're going to take some time, new campaigns, we'll see some more things, we'll get to see different environments, but as a base single campaign with a bunch of missions and stuff to do, it is a bit of a shame that there's not more variety there. And that's pretty much all I have to say on the open world for now. Like I said, I'll have a bigger video hopefully coming next year, so that's something I'm really looking forward to working on and really getting my thoughts down on paper properly with. But for now, I thought I'd make this video just to go over that because it's something that has been on my mind and thought was worth talking about. Plus, I need an advent calendar video every single day, and I need to do them. Anyway, don't forget to drop a sub, don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to drop in the comments your thoughts because I'd love to fucking hear it. And I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Another bloody video. See you all soon. Catch you later. Bye-bye.